Why don't we go ahead and start? Thank you all, and welcome back. It falls to us to keep everybody awake after lunch. Fortunately, I've got 6 able colleagues here who I think will be able to do that. Before I talk about the afternoon, I just need to embarrass some people in public, which is Patricia Cuff, Megan Perez, Samantha, Christine. We are blessed with wonderful staff. I think like many of us, we all are involved in organizations and meetings. This is one of the best set of staff I've worked with, so thank you very much. So what we began to do right before lunch was begin to talk about the competencies that are necessary for innovation in community-based education. What we want to do now is to talk about kind of fundamental pedagogical issues, and I think you'll discover that many of these have already come up in some of our discussion. And what I'm delighted about is the group is beginning to process and to think about how do we get beyond some really impressive innovations, programs going on in single areas or single professions, and how do you spread and scale that moving forward. But before you get there, you have to talk about how are we going to structure things, and that's what really we're going to talk about here. In keeping with the principle of active learning, we thought we would pilot debates as a technique. How many of you in your professional education have used either personally or been a part of debates as a teaching technique? So many of you this is not unfamiliar with. For me, my journey started at the University of British Columbia, where a woman by the name of Carol Herbert taught me this quite some time ago. The idea behind debates, we've used them in our residency for probably 20 years. The idea is to get beyond single articles and also to help our learners understand the nuances and that things that are important always have pros and cons. And we want to get that kind of texture of discussion here. I thought it would be important, and I realize that this isn't either great handwriting and a little bit too small and faint for many of you. But let me go through a little bit about what we're looking for in the structure of the debate so that you have that. These are, we've adapted, after talking about it, they've adapted the structure that we've used, and this is a little bit experimental. But we're going to have 3 20-minute debates. And the way we'll do this, and I've laid out the structure over there, but the way we'll do this is to have a little bit of a preface, and we're going to have you vote beforehand. Then the 2 sides will talk for 4 minutes, no slides, pro and con. And then in keeping with the principle that at least half the time ought to be spent in interaction and discussion, we'll open it up to the group for 8 minutes of discussion and questions and comments. This is where the wisdom of the group becomes manifest. Then we will revote, and I will also ask the debaters, what do they really think at that stage? You'll notice that many of these are of the frame of, do you prefer motherhood or apple pie more? For the purposes of the debate, we want you to take a position. Let me scaffold this. This is audience engagement, right? We want you to take a commitment. Most of us are in academic and leadership roles in which you have to make hard decisions. So we want you to make that choice. But it's also not about winning. So there is no rebuttal and other pieces. It'll be very interesting to see how the group shifts as the discussion goes on. But the point is enlightenment, not victory, okay? So any questions about the process? Let me tell you a little bit about voting. You will see, this is a high-tech process. This is your voting ballot, okay? So that's why it's been on your table. So what we will do at the beginning of each proposition is, and we have precinct captains at each table, we want you, we'll say each proposition has been framed, and I'll tell you what it is, and we'll say, are you for or against? And if you're for, we'll ask you to just hold this up. This is visual display of information, right? You will all see where the group is, and then if you're against, you will hold it up. Our precinct captains will take it to Megan and others who will put it up so you can see what the votes are as we go forward. And then we'll do the same thing afterwards. Process make sense? Understand voting tools? See hanging chads? So, all right.